Anda kembali bersama kami dalam Tech Outlook CNBC Indonesia dan masih terhubung bersama kami co-founder In-Mobi Group, President and CEO Glance Piyush Shah. So Piyush, you spoke earlier about the user experience of Glance. So can you tell us how Glance is different or what's the differences between Glance and the other content platforms out there?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sharifa. I think the biggest thing that is different about Glance is it's very, very unique in the way we have looked at the lock screen as a unique, pristine, and very, very powerful surface that nobody else saw. You know, that innovation of the lock screen, which is being used by 6 billion Android users in the world, all of us spend time every day, almost 2,000 times touching the phone, but ability for us to see something that nobody else saw is magical. An ability for us to identify the power of what we could do on the lock screen so that users can interact and discover content in a beautiful way is what no one else has done out there. What is also important is how we do it and do it in a more responsible fashion. And an extremely important way was doing this so that users don't find it irritating or distracting, but actually find it inspiring, find it beautiful, find it relevant. So that's what we have done as a user experience platform. I mean, it is something that can be much larger than any other social platform purely because of the scale at which we are sitting. And that's what Google also saw. I'm sure we all know that Google is a huge strategic financial investor in Glance, and they love what we have done as a user experience from a core lock screen technology standpoint. What we also saw is users are loving it. It took off in a big way in India, almost 400 million devices and users were actually using it. And then now we are seeing it take off in Indonesia in a very interesting fashion. So that shows that this is different. This is very cutting edge in the way we are doing it, where users are interacting with the Glance lock screen multiple times every day, always staying on top of everything that interests them, discovering content that matters to them, and loving it. So that's what we are seeing is interesting. And of course, one thing we notice a lot more is just the focus on using Glance as a reflection of the now. There is always things that are selalu happening. That has made it very, very interesting for our users. As I was saying earlier, the lock screen has always been about something that is happening now. You know, the time, the weather, notifications. And we have taken it like to 10 notches ahead to see what could it mean to use this as a platform where users can discover content in a beautiful fashion. And that's what no one is doing out there. It is not short video. It is not user-generated content also. It is very differentiated in terms of the content we offer because it's pristine, it's curated. And that's what makes it so interesting and different for all our users and our creators and developers. So that's what I would say is interesting and different from other platforms and why we feel so inspired in building this Glance journey.
Okay, once again, it's endless opportunity and you guys do it well. So when we're talking about scaling up, so how do you guys scaling up, and how you have been present in Southeast Asia for a little over a year now. So can you tell us more about your base users and the growth in Southeast Asia?
No, absolutely. So as I said earlier, we are a global platform, started in India first, have a large scale there. And we have been very, very keen and present in Indonesia and Southeast Asia since last year. Across the board, I think we are present in Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, and various other Southeast Asian countries. In all, we would be present in approximately 75 million devices across Southeast Asia. And of course, a lot of that is in Indonesia, where I would leave you with one metric, or almost 50% of new Android devices being shipped in Indonesia have Glance embedded in them. And that's what makes it so interesting. I think one of the most interesting things we've done is we are not an app that you can find on the Google Play Store. We actually get pre-embedded right into the system platforms for these devices, working very closely with the world's largest handset manufacturers. And that's what makes the experience so cool, so frictionless overall. So that's where we are. We want to absolutely scale this in Southeast Asia and Indonesia in a big, big way. And of course, want to go deeper in Indonesia also. And I'll talk more about that definitely.
So in the future, what is your expansion plans for specifically in Indonesia?
Yeah, you heard me mention in the presentation that this year we shifted from an Indonesia focused mindset to an Indonesia first strategy, which means Glance is critical for us to make it happen and make it work in Indonesia in a big way. It's a primary market for us. And we are looking at growth in every aspect of our business through an Indonesia specific lens. For example, we are investing in our own teams in Indonesia. Other than the local creators, they've hired a very strong local team. Our own team grew 3 times in the last 1 quarter. And that same team is going to be almost double next year. So that's on the people front, on our own investment and capacity that we created in Indonesia. On the users front, it is an extremely large scale already, working with all the major handset manufacturers and looking to partner with more and more of them so that we can bring this to the market. The other piece we are doing is working very closely with local content and creators, where a lot of the publishers who understand Indonesian culture, who have great content, who have great authentic understanding of what's happening always, we are doing a lot of partnerships with them. And like I mentioned earlier, we have partnered with 7 top Indonesian publishers, whether it's Mongabe or Vice Indonesia, Liputan 6, Asian Parent, Rasamasa. All of them are deep partners for us. We also partnered with Collab Asia, which is a top creator management firm here, who will help us onboard some of the biggest creators in this country to make Indonesia-specific creator content. And this will happen across many verticals. It'll happen across news and sports, in gaming, in fashion, in music, in movies, in shopping. We want to reimagine all these important verticals which are important for our users and see how our users can love the experience across these verticals we talked about. The other big thing we are doing is, of course, taking this whole platform and the brand safe real estate now to our advertisers and agencies and the government and asking them, let's partner on what we can do together. So that's what we are doing here. A whole lot of effort on the business side, on the partners and people. And then last but not the least, a very special focus in the headquarters on how we can innovate on the product itself. And of course, we expect to announce some interesting news on the product features in Indonesia that will be absolutely disruptive altogether. And we want to make those waves in Indonesia also sometime in the first quarter. So that's what we're doing here, going super deep, ensuring we create a mind-boggling user experience, and it should be something that is always happening for our users.
Okay, that's a lot of things that you can do here, but how do you see Indonesia as a potential market, so compared to the other countries?
Well, I think firstly, it is a fairly progressive, very high GDP, huge market in terms of user growth and the youth. And I would say a market that is very progressive in the way it adopts and the new platforms altogether. So purely from a mindset perspective, we feel that both the users and brands and partners are very, very forward-looking in how they look at adopting new things in the market. And that's very, very heartening. That's the first thing that is happening. The second is clearly it's a very large population. We want to at least penetrate half of the population, hopefully, and that's the attempt out there. Overall, I think the other thing we are seeing is there's a whole lot of evolution in creators, the whole economy around live shopping, live commerce, live entertainment. And we feel that we can actually disrupt that space, bring that experience to Indonesians through glance right on the lock screen. So all of that is our investment area. And for all of these, we do expect to partner with all sorts of companies and users and creators in a very deep manner.
Okay, so Mr. Piyush, this is still very interesting, but we'll continue our discussion after the break. So don't go anywhere. Dan usai jeda kami akan kembali lanjutkan dialog kami bersama dengan co-founder In-Mobi Group and Presiden serta COO Glance Piyush Shah. Tetaplah bersama kami di Tech Outlook CNBC Indonesia.